You threw a leg across that iron horse and pulled the throttle down. A million things rushing through his mind like that rumbling sound. Living life in his own eyes, direction isn't clear. So searching all these years.
Welcome to Answers from Mars Hill. This is Pastor Ski from the Rushing Wind Biker Church out in Holbrook, New York. I want to welcome you to our show today. And a lot of stuff going on in the world. Before we dive into what I want to really talk about today, it's been a very crazy week. You know, we've been going through a very hard time in our country, and just when you think things can't get worse, all of a sudden something new happens. And so you know, we're in a place now where you know, chaos is really running rampant. And you know, as I've said many times, I believe there's a great spiritual war going on for our country, pulling us in two different directions. And it has gotten so intense, and it's gotten very evil and vile to the point where there's violence, there's protests. You know, we've seen months of protests all over the country, and wreckage and destruction. These, I don't know what they call them, these zones, I forgot what they're called, where they want to be autonomous. And we've seen craziness in our country. And then last Wednesday, I believe, you know, some other craziness. And you know, as I kind of look at everything that's going on, you know, there's no need for any violence. I mean, violence is not something that we can condone on any side. I don't care what side you're associated with. You know, violence is it's unnecessary. You know, I mean, even going back to the '60s when I was younger, and the protests, and you know, you saw people like Martin Luther King, who had a very great cause, but was a man of peace. And it cost him his life, but he was all about really the work of God and peace, and trying to work out our differences through demonstrations that just brought a point, made a point, and not the oppression of violence. And we've seen on both sides of the aisle, both sides of the issues in the last year, violence to try to push their agenda and get their point across. And it's a shame. And you know, we talked about last week, when the dust settles, what are we going to do when everything settles into the new reality that this country is going to be in? Because no matter what occurs, I don't think we'll ever be exactly the same. I don't know about the masks. I don't know about, you know, groups that can gather together. But there's a spirit that now has gripped our country. And so no matter which side you're on, no matter what you believe, I think everyone is going to have this cloud of oppression and concern, looking over our shoulder and not knowing what's going to happen next, to when the other shoe will drop. And I spoke about last week about, are we going to stick to our convictions, or are we going to allow the winds of change drag us along with everyone else, especially us in the Christian faith, as there are certain social issues in that you know, it seems like the country's perspective is kind of shifting a little bit, or at least the people in power are shifting the mindset of our country. What are we going to do as followers of Christ, as followers of Jesus? Are we going to go with the watered down and conformity that the Bible says is going to be part of that last day, where even the true believers are going to start conforming to things of the world? Or are we going to stick to our convictions no matter what happens, like that first church who faced a lot of persecution, a lot of death, a lot of trials. And so, no matter where you are, no matter what you believe, what your faith is, when the dust settles from everything, you're going to have to look in the mirror and say, what are we going to do? Are we going to stick to our guns, or are we going to just allow this big movement to drag us along with it, or are we going to try to, navigate, hold on to what we hold as true, maybe try to recapture some of the innocence, I'm going to use, of what this country once was, instead of being in a dark place. And the great thing, from my perspective, is I believe that God is allowing a great shaking, and people are shaken, and sometimes we need to be shaken and woken up to see what's in front of us. And I think it's done some good in the church. It's done some good in our church. Our church is actually growing a little bit through this, because people are looking for answers. They're looking for hope. They're looking for anything that can give them peace as they put their head on the pillow at night, not knowing what they're going to wake up to tomorrow. And so, it's kind of refreshing from my perspective, and that may actually offend people, what's going on right now, because pretentiousness has been really the rule of the day. Wearing masks, not showing who we really are, and even feeling we have to conform to what other people would like to see in us, to have friends, to have relationships, even have jobs nowadays, has been a burden on people, all kinds of people. And so the refreshing thing is truth is kind of coming to the forefront. Everything that is hidden has been brought to the surface, as far as prejudice, and as far as right and left, and what people really are about. Because when people get angry, it's hard to hide what's inside. And as much as we hate the anger, you're getting to see people for what they really are. And all of us are looking at ourselves right now, wondering what are we going to do when the dust settles. So that was last week's show. Tonight, this evening, I'm going to go in a little different direction, but kind of the same direction, because where do we find peace in a time of chaos that we have right now, when it seems like everything we've held dear, everything that we've been able to stand on, put our trust in, put our faith at times in, seems to be slipping away. And what are we going to do? And how are we going to have a good mindset? I'm going to talk a little bit about gratitude today. Actually, a lot about gratitude. But I'm also going to do it through the filter of what the Bible talks about as grace. Grace is the big deal in the Christian faith. Not sure of that perspective in other faiths, other spiritualities, how grace actually works into your dynamic of thought as far as how you move forward in your life. But grace is the big deal in Christianity. And I'm going to talk a little bit about gratitude through the filter of grace, and how we can, even in this chaotic, ridiculous time we live in, be at peace, actually be grateful, be thankful for what we do have, and kind of sit in the eye of the storm of this time in our history where things are ridiculously out of control, and understand there's only one thing we can kind of have some kind of control, even though it's not our control, it's God's control, and that's ourselves. And so when we come back from our first break, we're going to open up a discussion about how gratefulness destroys anxiety, how gratefulness destroys fear, and how gratefulness can keep our mind in a place where we can persevere in this very dark time in our history. So we'll be back in a few minutes with answers from Mars Hill.
Hey everybody, this is Motorcycle Mike, the personal injury lawyer. I've been riding motorcycles my entire adult life. During the course of my 30-year career as a lawyer, I've also represented countless injured motorcyclists. If you're one of them, I can be of assistance to you. go to my website, please, motorcyclemikeesq.com. I'll always be there for you. I'm on your side when you ride.
Welcome back to Answers to Mars Hill. Pastor Ski again. And we're going to have a discussion today on gratitude. And I know in this turbulent time, gratitude seems like something so far from everybody's thought process. But, I think we've all heard this phrase that, you brought nothing into this life and you'll take nothing out with you. And that is, that's actually a perspective that really is ingrained throughout the scriptures of the Bible, the understanding of God and creation. If we actually stand in a place or sit in a place where we realize that there is a God who has created and is sovereign over everything, then at least in our faith, we believe that God created each one of us individually. He hand chose each one of us, and it's not just people who are in the Christian faith. Everyone who was born, I believe, God had planned for. God thought about you long before you were actually a created human being to be placed here with your gifts, who you are, the talents you have, the personality you have, what you would be. And the mindset that I want to kind of talk about today is everything that we have, everything we are, and everything that we've developed into that has been good in any way, has been something that we did nothing to earn that. I was brought into this world and I had certain gifts, certain talents, whether it was to speak, whether it was carpentry, things that I was good at. I was good in science, and I could have went in that direction. And there are so many things in my life that, where did that come from? Because, things just don't materialize from nowhere. And if we can come to an understanding that all the things in our life, God graced us with, if we have a family, if we have a wife, or if we have children, or if we have a job, if we have talents, every breath we take is a gift from God. And if we can understand that God was not obliged to actually even think of you, but here you are, then there are a lot of things that we can be grateful for in our life. And I know many of us have had hard lives, and there are things that have poured into that negativity and darkness. But everyone's got some semblance of goodness in their life. It might be your childhood. It might be your parents. It might not be. It might be friends you've had. It might be you've been gifted with a talent, a trade, an intellect. Some have gone to higher education, gone to college to get a degree, and done some kind of blue collar or white collar type of jobs, research, doctors. Where did you get that ability to assimilate things that you could put all that information together to be productive in some trade or some specialty? Well, that's all something that we did nothing to get. And so it's all a gift of grace. And so many of us have, actually all of us have things in our life that we can be thankful for. And if we can grasp an attitude of gratitude, and I hate it when you come up with rhyme things like that, but I think it can help us persevere this very hard time. And so I want to bring Bobby in and just throw this idea around, because we all need hope, and we all need positive things in our life right now. And it's hard to get it out there. it's hard from look around and see things that, feed into my life to bring positivity and hope. And so, as a time like this, I think we should look internally and look at ourselves, look at what we have, and I think it'll help us to get through this time. How you doing, Bobby?
I'm doing good, and I'm laughing because it's so funny. It's like you don't like anything campy or corny, attitude with gratitude.
Yeah, I know.
I know you, but people like that. You know
I
what I'm
know.
saying?
I
So
know.
yeah,
Yeah.
I have an attitude of gratitude. I mean, I love it. So I just want to say from personal experience, I was really struggling, and once I got to a point where I realized as much as I was going through, it's like I was still waking up every morning healthy and safe, and you think about all, people even in America, homeless people in third world countries who don't have a place to sleep, who don't know where their next meal is going to come from. And once I got to that place where, okay, I'm struggling, but you know what? I go to bed every night in a safe place. I wake up in a safe place. I wake up healthy. I'm given the opportunity every day to start fresh and make something happen. And, it's not that easy when you're going through to kind of flip it and just turn on that attitude of gratitude. But through my personal experience, as I started to do that every day, and as soon as I wake up, I mean, I do it in the middle of the day too, but it's very important. As soon as you wake up and you're laying there and you open your eyes and then you realize, I'm alive. Number one, I'm alive. And number two, I'm feeling good. I'm healthy. God gave me another day as a healthy man, and it could be so much worse. There's so many people who are in situations that we probably could never even handle in our own lives,
No,
but yet they
absolutely.
do it every day. And you see these people who have not even a fraction of what we have every day, and even people without limbs and all these health problems, and they're so happy just to get up and be able to work at a job where we cry and complain, oh, we're going to do hard. And here, some people are just so appreciative and so, thankful for what they have. So,
Yeah.
just when I just started doing that, it really did attack the anxiety, like you said, because I was at a point where I was having such a hard time falling asleep, because I couldn't get it off my mind. What am I going to do? How am I going to do this? How am I going to pay this? Where am I going to blah, blah, blah? And it never stopped. And the more I did it, the worse it got. And I couldn't go to sleep at night. I didn't want to wake up when I did fall asleep. And where I am now is it's complete 180 degrees from where I was. And yeah, I'm still pushing through things and everything, but I feel 100% better. And having that attitude of gratitude, going back to mass on a weekly basis, it's just made me so much more confident, so much more appreciative, and I'm good. Listen, like I said, I'm still struggling. I'm still got all these bills to pay. I got all these things on my mind, but I'm not letting it overtake me, and just realizing that, hey, all I'm going through is nothing compared to what some people are. So be happy that you're not in that situation that some people are, and be appreciative and take advantage of it. Do it. God woke you up a healthy person. It's a new day. It's a new start. Every day is a new start.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like a chance to do things that you didn't do when you were supposed to. So I'm just in total support of this, because it really does destroy your anxiety. And let me tell you something. When you have anxiety and you have worry, oh my God, it'll destroy you.
Yeah.
It'll destroy you from the inside out.
I'll tell you, there's so much around us, and so much we can do, even at a time where we can't do a lot of things. And that's what really has a lot of people oppressed. And we have a person in my church last night that, since I've been aware of Christianity, this is the most positive, sweet, smiling, God-loving person consistently, for decades that I've ever met. And last night in church, for the first time in that person's life, they felt just like they lost their joy. And it was a shock to see this person because, a person close to me for a lot of years. And so, I just had a conversation with this person and said, listen, the things this person liked to do was she went out and served, and she did homeless ministries, and she, went out and ministered to people, and constantly, and she had her joy. And all of a sudden, we've got these times where it's like her purpose has stopped. And so what I had to, kind of remind her is, you have so many people you haven't talked to, and you have a phone. You have a phone, and there's people you haven't connected to in a long time that would love to hear your voice, would love to hear you encourage them, and maybe to pray with them or whatever else. And then some situations that, that I said, prayer is a powerful thing. And one or two things I just mentioned, travail in prayer. Because that God works in prayer. And so just kind of reminding people of what they can do and what they do have, that they don't need to do what they always have done, but just think about the things that they can do. And it makes you grateful that, these are things that I can do. These are things that I've done before. But we get overwhelmed with the darkness, and when things are taken from us, the shock to our soul is stuck in this negative, something was stolen from me, instead of looking deep within ourselves and seeing what's still there. And maybe things that'll be brought out might even be better than before. And plus, we're in a world where God is around us all over the place. And we get so myopic, and I was talking to Bobby during the break that, I went back to walking today. I haven't walked in a long time. And, my diet's doing pretty good, so I got to the point where I've kind of stagnated, and so I'm trying to jumpstart it. So I went back and walked, and walking along the water today, God just gave me a picture. A snapshot. If you've ever just been out in God's creation and God gave you something it's the most beautiful scene. And it was over the water, and the sun is coming up over the water, and the bright oranges and the colors, and then there's three swans that were just swimming right past me. And I said, thank you, Lord. I needed to see something, just to show me that even humanity is a small part of all of creation. There's so many beautiful things, so many extraordinary things that are even out of our human experience that we can experience. And after the first break, I think I'll continue along that line, because there's so many things God has for us to take our mind off of the cares and the burdens and the chaos that we've actually made for ourselves in this humanity. So we'll be back in a minute from a word from our sponsors, and I think we'll talk a little bit about that. Hi, everyone. Pastor Ski here, and I want to thank you for watching our program. I want to just tell you about two resources that I have for you, sources of encouragement. I've lived a very challenging life, and God has allowed me to go through a lot of things, and I've written 2 books. The first one is called The Fear of Life. This is kind of my life story of a very hard childhood, very dark childhood, dark family life, and how God redeemed my life from it, how he showed me life when I thought that life wasn't available. And then I wrote this book called No Sting when I went through my battle with terminal cancer, and how God healed me, how he enlightened me, strengthened me, and made a big difference in my life. And both of these very encouraging resources, sources of inspiration. If you know people who are struggling, people who have hard lives, or people that are struggling with cancer, they would be probably a good resource. And if you would like to purchase one of these books, you can go to BarnesandNoble.com, Amazon.com, and the Zulon Press bookstore. And I appreciate your support, and get these out and help a lot of people. God bless you all, and I'll see you down the road. Welcome back to Answers from Mars Hill, and we've been talking about being grateful in a very dark time. And so I want to bring Bobby back in, because at the end of that last segment, we started to touch on something. I'm not sure if that's what he wants to share on, but just how God has so many things around us that if we can just get our eyes off of ourselves and look around us, we can get just a glimpse of just the wonder of goodness around us.
No, so I was just going to just mention briefly how you were talking about someone in your church who always had just was just so joyful and everything was always so great, and now you see them like totally struggling. And I have someone in my life that one of my clients, and she's probably one of the most connected people I know to God and Jesus, and she's one of those people who have had like experiences, like I know you have had also, and not all of us have these experiences, but she has had multiple experiences through dreams and situations. And the other day I spoke to her, and she was like almost like hopeless. It was so sad to see and hear that from her, because I never in a million years thought that someone in that position would feel this way. So that's happening a lot now. And we talked a little bit, and then we kind of clicked on a few things, and she kind of got inspired, and she hung up the phone with me. And then she texts me back like 10 minutes later, and she says, "You're not going to believe what happened. I looked out my window, and there was literally, like, she told me there was like hundreds of birds, hundreds of birds in her backyard that flew in and then congregated and then flew away." And she's saying, "I never have birds in my backyard like that." And it's like she's like, "I can't believe it. I can't. This is a sign. This is a sign." But like you said, sometimes we need to reach out to people, and if we're also experiencing these things, we need to reach out for help. You know what I'm saying? So we need to reach out for two reasons. We need to reach out and see if our brothers and sisters are okay. And if we're struggling, we need to reach out to our brothers and sisters for help. You know what I'm saying? So we need to connect more, during this whole time. Like everybody, Zoom, but in a way, everybody's Zooming, doing this and that, but we're not connecting personally.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
On that intimate level. So your family, your friends, people you haven't spoke to in a while, give them a call, check in on them, because sometimes all they need is a phone call.
Yeah.
Just to know that, hey, someone's thinking about me. I really needed that. So she ended up calling me. I didn't call her, but it's she needed something, and just by speaking to me, I clicked on something and inspired her. So we really need to connect with everybody. So I just wanted to share that.
No, that actually leads into kind of direction I wanted to go with the rest of this segment, and also my word for the week. I mentioned earlier that anything good in us has been just by the grace of God. It doesn't matter if you're a person about God. God created you, so you can't take credit for anything that's you, whether it's your personality, whether it's your gifts, whether it's your talents, your ability to adapt to things. I mentioned people that go to college and they had been able to attain degrees and get jobs like doctors and lawyers. Well, that didn't happen by accident. You put in your work. But being able to attain the knowledge, hold on to the knowledge, use that knowledge for a certain venue or a certain vocation is something that It's just you did nothing to get that. That just was part of you when God created you. And I shared this in church yesterday about God's grace and how, we're born with these things that God has given us unconditionally. And then it's just a matter of when we reach a point in our life, do we have an awareness of that very fact that God put these things in us to be able to show how God uses us for other people in the world. And it's the whole process of understanding what the Bible talks about as grace. And it's, we have these things that we have undeserved that are a gift of God's grace to us before we actually come to faith or come to understanding who Jesus is. And then what happens is when we understand how much God loves us, what God did to us, did for us through His Son, and accepting that knowledge and understanding, and really deciding that we want to live for the God that did that for us and actually gave us this. There's what's called an exchange that goes on with our selfish mindset to a mindset of Christ, which is serving, giving, helping, loving. And so what you just did was really a perfect example of God's grace. All right, you're a communicator. One of the gifts that God gave you and gave me is we're communicators. Having the ability to talk and share things and entertain like you do, or speak like I do, is something that was a gift that God gave us. It's just part of what He created us to be. And now that we've come to this understanding of faith, God has activated that gift in us to actually be grace to other people. And so what you did speaking into that woman's life is an act of God's grace working through you to show her that God still loves her. Mm-hmm. Now, she understands that because she's a believer. I do a lot of things speaking, and since last week, since this craziness has happened, maybe a couple of days before, God's put it on my heart to put things online every week as just an encouraging thing. Not an overtly over-the-top Christian thing, but to get people thinking about goodness and God and caring and gratitude. And those things are things that God speaks through me into these little things that I've been able to communicate through the ability to put things in words, which is a gift that God gave me of grace. And now He's using me to help other people. And what it does is it really makes us grateful for who we are and what we have when we can see that those very things that God gave us that we didn't deserve are actually being used to help other people in their life to be able to not live in darkness, to not be so depressed, to step out of their things and see God work through us. And that's God's grace working through us. And, in the Christian faith, obviously the end of that is that if they can see that faith in Jesus did this to me to give to them, that they would be curious and they would seek, and hopefully they come to the same realization of faith that they might be changed to be able to view the world this way, to accept what Jesus did for them, and to actually have that grace change them in a time like this where they can wake up. I slept 6.5 hours last night. I mean, uninterrupted. I sleep very well these days. And I know, people are probably pissed at me for even saying that, because so many people I know, they can't sleep. What's going on? I mean, every day you wake up, it's like, what if I got to wake up into the news tomorrow? And so, this gift that God gave us, and whatever you are, look past all the things that the darkness is doing to you, this oppression of what's going on right now. There's nothing we can do about it. Only God can change things that huge. And so, yeah, we pray, but there's still a lot of goodness to be found. Go out and take a walk. Don't keep yourself locked up with the television and the texting and all the stuff that just keeps reinforcing how bad the world is, and try to get internalized and look around you and even get out and say, God, show me something good. and give me something to be grateful for. Because without gratefulness, there's hopelessness. You know, as long as there's things that we can still be grateful for, there's hope. And there's so many things that people can't see it. You know, and you know, Bobby, that was a perfect example. You know, you ran into the same situation, and so God used you through. You know, you're in a place now where you're in a peaceful place because God's got you through your faith, which is actually another gift of grace, is faith. That now He's using you to help someone that you may have never thought you'd be able to help. You know, I think we all know people that, you know, they're never going to need, you know, they're so tied with God, you know, it doesn't matter what happens, it's not going to shake then. Well, then you wake up one day and it's like, you can either go one of two ways. Like if things are so bad that they've lost faith, what am I going to do? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And instead of that, knowing that we're really built to encourage each other. You know, there are times that person has spoken words into my life. And now it's their turn. Actually, that day, you know, yesterday, it was two people, one early in the morning. Someone I know from ministry from a lot of years that, you know, is all of a sudden feeling useless and worthless because of things he can't do. And so, you know, and God blessed me with being able to encourage them and bring them up to a place of being, oh yeah, grateful for what they have. And not overwhelmed with what's been taken. Mm-hmm. You know, Bobby?
I agree 100%. And like you said, I mean, it wasn't anything like God used me. It's like I don't look at myself, you know, this woman called me up and I, you know, really knew what to say and helped her. All I did was really talk to her, you know, and we just had conversation. And it's that balance, you know, she may be down a little bit, but I'm up. God used me to kind of bring her up a little bit. So,
well, don't say all you did was talk to her.
Well, that's all I really did was talk to her.
No, I know, but understand. God moves through language and words and voices. You know, God spoke and everything was created. Mm-hmm. You know, in the beginning was the Word. Jesus is called the Word. So words change futures, mm-hmm. change eternities, and they change demeanors, and they bring people out of darkness into light. It's a pretty spiritual statement there, actually. But they don't say it's all I did was talk to her. I mean, that's a huge thing.
Well, yeah, like I said, but you know, you hit it on the mark. Is God? He used me, you know, to help her. So I didn't go with the intentions. I'm gonna say everything that she needs to hear and help her. You know, it was just all I did was have conversation with her. You know, and just that connection. Was her grace through me, like you said.
Who knows if you speaking to her put her in a position or a mindset where she actually walked to the window and looked in her backyard.
Exactly.
And then God knew that was going to happen, and then God showed up. Mm-hmm. I mean, people try to discount this, but there is no discounting the obvious interaction of God with us throughout our lives. You know, so yeah. So yeah, it's there's a lot of things out there that we can look around and start to get our heads out of our butt and our situations and out of the news and out of Washington and whatever else and look around and see there are good things around us and there are good things within us that we can do and contribute and dig in deep. And so as we wind down the end of this section, we'll be back with a minute with the word for the week. And this is going to be a conversation of gratitude, of grace, and how such a time as this is when God wants to be there to let you know that everything's okay. So we'll be back in a minute with Answers from Mars Hill, and I'll have my word for the week.
Hey everybody, this is Motorcycle Mike, the personal injury lawyer. In addition to representing injured motorcyclists for over 30 years now, during that same time, I've represented countless car crash victims and construction workers injured on construction sites. If you need my assistance, go to my website, motorcyclemikeesq.com. I will always be there for you.
Welcome back to Answers from Mars Hill, and this is my word for the week. We've been talking about gratitude and how in this particular time in our history, in all of our lifetimes, I think, judging by, this point in history, how old I am, I think I can speak for majority of people out there, that we're in unprecedented times. We've gone through things in our country in the last 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, that have culminated in this moment in history where things are very, very hard, very challenging to say the least. That where do you find hope? And there just seems to be no end in sight, at least right now. And the question is, how do we move forward, be able to understand that life is still good? And we've been talking about, me and Bobby, this attitude of gratitude for all the things we have, the things that are in us, the things that are around us. See, as Americans, we are kind of caught in this mindset of mine and more and more, and that our accomplishments and our self-worth is more about what we can amass than who we really are. And even the fact that we have professions and we have venues and occupations and things about us that we can't do a lot of things right now, that it really is robbing us of purpose. It's robbing us of a vision, of even a hope for a better tomorrow, I think. And so I'm trying to bring us to a place, or at least whoever will have an ear to hear, as the Bible says, of being grateful. Because the things we do have, the things about us that are good, that enables us to do good, be good, are things that we did nothing to deserve having. They're all within our created individual lives that God has placed in us. And some of those things are more profound to some people than others. But we're all ingrained with talents, with giftings, with personalities. And many of us have had those things corrupted throughout the years, and even through our life. And some of you may feel challenged in that, but if we search deep within ourselves for the core of what we are, and independent of faith for the moment, let's just be thankful for the things God has put in us, that has given us a life that we're actually upset we can't engage in right now. The fact that we have these things. Much of the world has been living in impoverished for decades and even centuries, and many have never had things. And so, we ought to be thankful, number one, that we're still in a country where the vast majority at least have something that they can hold on to. It might be their family. It might be, looking at themselves and see their value. And that's what I want to impress on you. Just because some of the things that we haven't been able to do might have been taken away from us, if we search, there are things that we still can do. And there's a beauty all around us that we can shift our focus to when the things right in front of us and the things that we can't do anything about kind of want to sap us of the hope, life itself. And I talked about this thing called grace, which is what the entire Bible is really based on. And grace is undeserved favor. That's what grace is. And what I want to bring us to an understanding is we've been someone, had things about us that we've been able to enjoy for at least part of our life, maybe a majority of your life, that you did nothing to get that. And so it's been a gift, and we should be thankful for what we are, who we are, what we can do. And that's one of the first understandings of just the humility of life, because sometimes we think we are just all that in a bag of chips, as a friend of mine says. And understand we did nothing to have the initial giftings and the seeds of productivity that were placed in us by a God who loves you and wanted you to step into a life of purpose. And that life of purpose has not ended just because there's a lull in the action. It's still there. And within the Christian faith, when it really talks about grace, we look at Jesus and we talk about amazing grace. We sing about amazing grace. Is the fact that the forgiveness that we talk about in our faith, and that's not all that comes with grace and comes with the life of a believer, but all that is undeserved. We don't deserve forgiveness. Every one of us, what we think, or what we've done, some more than others, but the Bible says no one's righteous, no, not one. We've all had thoughts, we've all done things. And there's something in all of us that is undeserving of being forgiven. Because we've really done some damage, big or small, to this humanity, our relationship, things that are around us. We haven't really come into this life and existed in a bubble of a total positive influence. We've all had our things. And so what Jesus came to do was to eliminate all that brokenness in us, and look to him as the example of the perfect example of how to live, loving and considerate, graceful, merciful, serving others as our main vocation. And then what happens, and this is where gratitude gets amplified, is we all have things that we can be grateful for about ourselves and the things that are all around us. But once we step into this new arena of being a Christian, a true Christian, one that actually believes in the things that Jesus espoused to, love and serving, compassion, leaving judgment to that other day, because we are not here to judge. And we step into this life, the very giftings and the very things that make us up at the core. That's why Christianity has kind of gone off track, is trying to mold people in a certain image. We all have individual tastes and likes and gifts and talents that God put in us to use for the world. And so by stepping into this one realm of being a follower of Jesus Christ and actually having God empower those things in us, activate them, if you will, gives us a purpose in the world we never could have before. And whether you're a truck driver, or whether you're an artist, or whether you're a school bus driver, or a business person, those things now can be empowered or activated to make a difference in many people's lives, and to bring purpose and meaning and life and also grace to other people. So we talk about amazing grace because the grasp of the understanding of this realm of humanity is God has created us all individually to contribute to the positive forward movement of humanity with what he's placed in us. And we have a uniqueness that cannot be replicated, that our part is not a part that anyone else can do. It's like a grand orchestra that plays in harmony. And so we have this individual person that we are that has a lot of traits that humanity needs right now more than others. our jobs or vocations. If you're a garbage truck driver, well, that arena needs people who can be positive and actually are considerate and not looking to work less than the next guy to get over and bring value and positivity and worth to that venue. Well, it's only through the activation of actually shifting our thinking like Jesus that what we have is for the betterment of other people. It's not for us to get, which is why most people are in the dark right now, because the getting is slim. And the things that we have tried to grasp to empower and feed our lives and feed all our desires and the things we want and those appetites we have been shut down for a big part. Even communication, which some of us is a huge part of our life. And so we should come to a place, number one, of gratitude of what we have. But deeper than that, because that's a hard concept as it is. When we know that what we have can be activated to bring joy and peace to other people, there is no joy that really can match when you see the value in yourself or being used to make someone else's life better, or in the Christian perspective, someone's eternity better. And so that's what we're created for, to help other people. Everything that's in you is not for you. And so right now, if you're in a dark place and you're feeling lost and you're feeling alone, so is everyone else. And they actually need what you can actually bring in a time like this. But I do believe it's only through God that we can actually grasp this, move forward in a positive way with this, and make the difference in the world that God wants us to make. And so that's the word for the week, gratitude. We have a lot to be grateful for. And the world would be grateful if every one of us can step into what we've been given to help them have a better life in this very dark time. So that's the word for the week. I'm Pastor Skia. This has been Answers from Mars Hill. I want to thank my sponsors. And at the end of this program, if you're so led to contribute to the furthering of getting this good word out to more people, or to make it a better experience, the information will be following the show. And so I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week on Answers from Mars Hill.